Welcome to Spotlight 804. My name is Daryll Morgan, and this is the show that shines a light on RVA's greatest talents. Today we're talking with Chris Michael, magician and entertainer. At just 24 years old, Chris has done multiple national tours and has entertained audiences at CBS, True TV, the Washington Football Team, and Marriott International. He consults on TV shows like America's Got Talent and The Walking Dead, and performs regularly for over 300 shows a year. He's the author of Lights, Camera, Magic, and my personal friend and collaborator. Based right here in Richmond, Chris, welcome to the show.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
I
I have my own podcast, so I feel like me and Shane used to do it. So now being on like a guest on one is just a foreign idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, here we are. We're making it happen. Happy to have you here. Well, this is your studio, but
I'm happy to have you here.
Today we are drinking Liquid Death.
The best part is the flavor names. So they're so on brand. Like they can't just do Liquid Death Mango,
Yeah,
which just already sounds cool.
What's yours called?
Mine is Bury It Alive.
Bury It, as in the flavor berry. And I am Mango Chainsaw.
That one doesn't track for me. I don't get the reference there. If there is one, I missed it.
I don't know, but it sounds cool.
They have a bunch of them too. They had a lime one. I forgot to look at the name of it, but no one likes the lime flavor. I'm pretty sure. I've never seen it before, so.
I don't think I'd like it.
But Zach, a mutual friend of ours, and also another performer based out of New York now, he buys his stuff by the caseload. So I used to never buy it because I would feel silly walking around with it. When I found that he liked it and like was just drinking it by the case, I was like, I'm in. And I don't like sparkling waters traditionally, but this one has like it's not just the essence of flavor, it has like an actual really good developed flavor. It tastes like a sparkling juice, but it's only 20 calories. Anything with 20 to 25 calories, I learned from Kevin O'Leary on Shark Tank, tastes better than anything with 0 calories.
Fair.
That small amount of sugar you're allowed to put in there.
This is the upper level of LaCroix.
Oh dude, LaCroix's for Canadian people anyway.
Yeah, but the drink of magicians.
And
I
Everclear
guess,
as well,
reference.
if you know about that.
Everclear?
It's a Canadian drink, like, no, that's Simply Canadian.
Isn't that an alcoholic? Like
Yeah.
90%?
Yep. Yeah, you're right. Never mind. Not Everclear.
Okay.
Dude, that's so funny. Everclear is for Canadians. I meant Simply Canadian is the name of it.
I didn't really get the reference. But
I don't know how I mixed those up.
fair enough. So, Chris, you first got started in magic performing at these school bus stops in middle school.
Oh yeah, what? How do you know that?
I have my ways.
This is a Nardwar moment.
I have my ways. That's what I was going for. That's what I was going for. So when did you realize that this would be a lifelong passion of yours?
I'm still shaking from that. You knew that. Like you must have talked to somebody from middle school or something. Okay, so I've always been interested in magic when I was 6, and I actually just recently found out throughout my shows and everything, I've pieced together what I can remember, a story of how I've got into magic. And I think magic is one of those things people want to know how you get into it more than anything else. Usually like with law, no one's like, how'd you get into that? You know? But with magic, I think it's so secretive that people always have that itch to know, like, how'd you get into something that's so heavily protected? And I finally got the piece of the actual story, which was that my aunt on my dad's side, I believe my Aunt Sue, got me a magic kit when I was 6. And then apparently ever since then, whenever they asked me what I wanted for my birthday or Christmas, I would ask for magic stuff. So that memory had been lost to me. I knew that I was interested in it, but I didn't really know. And then I always credit my neighbor, Jester Jim at the time. We lived in Long Island, New York. You know, just imagine a long stretch of neighborhood. Everyone's got a little garden in front. There was this, my grandma's house right here, and the house across from them, and then diagonally to the left was Debbie and Jim's house. I never put together that Jim Marr was Jester Jim. I thought of them as 2 different guys, even though like he just put on a Jester Jim outfit. It was like a different dude. So he was always performing at local libraries, so I'd go and see him, and that's when I got interested in like the performing, was watching him do his actual show and juggling and beatboxing. And then when we moved to Virginia, I carried that passion with me and grew up in a neighborhood with 36 kids. Our bus stop was literally my bus stop, one other bus stop, and the bus was full. And the second bus stop only had 2 kids, right? This girl, Amanda.
So the bus stops were in Virginia then?
Oh yeah. So this was all in Virginia. So because like the bus stop had so many kids there, that would be like before school, your main time to socialize. So we would all get there early. We would do that, like we would wrestle sometimes, or there'd be like do a bike race before or whatever. And I started to do these magic tricks, as people were getting there, just like practice, so I could do them during lunch and stuff at school. And I just that became like a daily thing. Like everyone would go there, I would do a new trick for them every day, which helped me like be excited to learn new magic all the time, not just stick with the same few tricks, which I do feel like I do a little bit more now,
Right. I mean, you find what works for you, I think. I heard there was a show that you did in order to get prom tickets.
Yeah.
And that was the point where you realized that you loved the stage. What exactly happened?
Yeah, man. I always hate telling this story. It hurts my soul.
Oh my gosh.
It's cringy for me. And it takes a lot to make me cringe. This girl that I was with for, let me think, I think we were together for almost 5 years. I think we broke up when we were talking about planning our 5-year anniversary, sadly.
Oof.
I know. Whatever. I mean, you're like a kid, I was a kid at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So let me look in the camera when I'm talking so people don't think I'm just staring at nothing. I'm staring at Daryl.
You're talking to me. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
That's only for the promo.
And this is off topic. I will get back to this. I'm not avoiding it, although I do think there's some subconscious here. There's some construction going outside, and they are pumping fumes into this building, man. It's going. So we might just start drooling.
Hopefully not. That would not look good.
I cannot place that smell, by the way.
It's just paint, man.
I don't think
some sort of paint derivative or something.
Paint derivative. Like people are deriving other chemicals from paint. They're like, it's definitely something construction related for sure. Mm-hmm. So this girl Emma and I were together for a very long time, and I wanted to, my family wasn't super well off or whatever. And I wanted to take her to prom, but it was a gentlemanly thing, obviously, to buy her a prom ticket. I feel silly making her buy her own. So I had gotten money for my prom ticket, but I needed money for hers. And it was expensive. I think at the time, I think it was like $60 or something.
Yeah, it's like 40 or 60 for mine.
Yeah, dude. So I don't remember if that was for both tickets or for one, but I needed the money. So I went to this Ashland Coffee and Tea place, which is actually in
I've been there.
Yeah, dude, near the train tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful place. So not exactly Richmond, but worthy of a spotlight. There's this guy named Truman, like this old World War II vet, probably the oldest guy I'd ever seen, to be honest. I don't know how he was running it. It's sadly, he's passed now, I'm pretty sure, but he had cancer at the time while we were planning the show. So I approached him about doing a magic show there and selling tickets, and he was all for it because they had this music venue in the back. Mm-hmm. So by day it'd be this coffee and smoothie bar, and by night it would be this just regular bar and venue. And it was super cool. We were never allowed in the bar side. So when I was in high school and I got to go in there and they had this stage, I thought, oh my gosh, you can do the show. So he put it on the website, he put up posters for it, and I arrived, and this is so horrible to think about. I arrived apparently late. Everyone had already showed up for the show and left because I wasn't there. Well, the time that I had given everybody was like 8 p.m. start time. So I then got there at 7. The posters when I went in there all said 6 p.m.
Ooh.
So the only people who showed up were the people who I had actually told, which were her parents, the girl I was trying to take. So they paid for tickets, the parents and the brother. So they're the only 3 people in the crowd. And the guy, I went to his office, I remember being I'm like, we gotta give him a refund. He's like, can't do it. Can't give him a refund.
Oh, no.
So they were pissed that they spent $15 a ticket each to be in there for just them 3, for me to do tricks that I could have done at their kitchen table anyway that night if they didn't pay. And so I did magic for them at the table side. It probably wasn't even good at all because it was the beginning of my career. And I used the money that they had given me from those tickets to go buy her a prom ticket. Oh, God.
Was the prom nice at least?
I passed out.
Okay.
Yeah, I passed out. We were on the drive on the way back and I didn't feel good. We pulled over. I tried to drink some water and I just literally was so dehydrated I passed out. And then I was sick for days and days. Couldn't even return my own tux. And I had to go to the hospital and get an IV after 3 days because I was not drinking enough water. So
just a disastrous experience all around.
Oh, horrible. Yeah, dude, horrible. I tell people that kind of lit a fire under me to never want to not sell out a show again. Up until recently, up until COVID, I would say, I had sold out every single show I'd ever done. The only reason I think that record's tainted a little bit is because, we had some shows right around the time COVID had started. We still performed the shows, but obviously, people were hesitant. So I'm going to say that COVID accepted, I have not tainted my record.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So this series, Spotlight 804, it's about Richmond artists and creatives and entrepreneurs. As a magician, someone who performs for these massive audiences and stuff like that, why are you in Richmond as opposed to like New York or LA or anything like that?
Well, I'm 2 hours from everything. So I'm 2 hours from Washington, D.C., which is somehow also 2 hours from like Southern Maryland, I guess, because it's just right on the border. I'm 2 hours from Virginia Beach. I'm 2 hours from North Carolina. So I'm central to where all these different places that are having events would be. I wanted to just, maximize the people that I serve. And I don't know, Richmond, strangely enough, I don't work in Richmond. Richmond doesn't have a great culture to hiring magicians. And if they do, it's one of the guys who've been here for like Jonathan Austin or Mickey Moore, which I think what I do is definitely a lot different. We're hoping that by bringing the show that I have to Richmond Infinity, that I'll be able to grow that audience here and like make magic fans happen in Richmond. But I just feel like between riding their bikes, drinking their beer, and growing their beards, people in Richmond are not interested in going to see live shows unless it's music. So I'm trying to break that mold a little bit. And it really hasn't happened because all my focus is mostly in the DC area. Like that's where a lot of the events are, that's where a lot of the money is, that's where the companies go, and it's just where I migrate. But I have family down here, my girlfriend lives here. It's just easier for me to like reside here. It also makes me feel like I'm not in the hustle and bustle, because when I'm up there, I just think work. When I'm down here, I think of just like having time off, or being in this office or whatever,
It's actually another question. It leads into my question about work-life balance, which for me, I've always found to be very important. That's part of the reason why I'm a photographer, an entrepreneur, because the 9-to-5 grind just didn't work for me. So for you as a magician, how do you manage that work-life balance? Yeah,
I've always been an entrepreneur to avoid the 9-to-5 grind, so I can do the, I call it like the 11 to midnight grind, which is longer.
It's longer, but it feels more fulfilling.
It does feel more fulfilling, and I can choose what I do every day, which is a blessing and a curse. Like before this, me and you were talking about how I am struggling to, I don't want to say with motivation, because it's definitely not it. I just feel like I'm in a place where I'm content with how things are going. Business is flowing. I'm not finally, like, I've hit a point of success in my life where I don't feel like I have to prove anything to anybody, which is dangerous for me. Like, I don't want to get complacent, but I also feel like I was driven by the whole idea of trying to counteract that the stereotype of a magician is like somebody who's struggling to make ends meet, or some dude who has like a tech job that does this on the weekends. I was fighting against that stereotype, but I've made it so abundantly clear to everyone who knows me, my market and everything else, that like we really do this. Like, we're really high end. We're making great money as a company, and this is like a really viable path for my life. But now that it's become so clear, I don't have to prove that to anybody. I find that I often sit and feel like I should be working when I'm sitting at home taking time for myself. So this year, like 2022, is the first year I've ever had work-life balance, and it's scary. And I have a mentor, Barry Friedman, who always talked about in this course that I took, Showbiz Blueprint, he talks all the time about how we chose to be entrepreneurs, to have time for ourselves. And you should do absolutely nothing work-related unless it absolutely requires you to do it. And I always heard that, but in one ear, out the other. Yeah. And now I feel like I have this guilt because I make more money than almost anybody I know, but I do less than almost everybody I know. But it's because like...
But you worked hard to get to that point.
I do, and I think I also know like when I'm coming somewhere to do something, the amount that's going to get done, the efficiency at which it happens, and like the pure just like competence that I have is like, that's what's valuable.
Right.
Like, dude, it's so obvious. Like, I have a lot of employees and they can do things, but it definitely like, it's not like in their nature. Whereas for me, I show up and it's like, boom, everything's cleaned up, everything's done. Like as soon as I step on the scene, it's like problem solved, everything's fit. There's value in that.
It is somewhat productive in the sense that you're using this time to play Call of Duty Mobile and are now top 2%.
Yeah, in the world, which is just a sign of my like that's. I have to bring it to my therapist and be like, this is my problem.
No, that's a good thing, dude. That is a skill right there.
Dude, it's embarrassing. My brother was talking to me about it at the table. He saw my account. He goes, "You're what?" He's like, I was like, "You want to play a match on my account?" And he logs in there. We're at this Mexican place. He plays one game and he plays one round and he gives it. He's like, "Dude, I can't."
The matchmaking is just.
He's like, "I can't."
Wow.
I know. He was getting donked on.
I've played some of the mobile like. I play Apex Mobile.
Oh yeah, is it good?
And it's probably decent. Not. It's actually pretty good.
Is it? Okay.
Actually,
is Apex Blizzard? No,
Apex is Respawn Entertainment.
Oh yeah.
And what's funny though is that the mobile version is actually being developed more than the main game for PC and console. So like stuff that we've been asking for
They make
years.
more money on mobile games.
That's part of it, but they also have a different developer. So it kind of seems like to me that the main game is kind of like old news to them a little bit.
Yeah.
To Respawn, they don't allocate as much resources as they used to.
Yeah.
Whereas like the new company, I'm pretty sure Tencent is the one running Apex Mobile, but they have all this money going right into it and just making it awesome. So it's actually a decent game, and you see streamers now on stream playing the mobile version of the game instead of the PC that they're playing on, and they'll use controller and stuff like that. But I will say the weird thing about mobile, at least for me, is like when you're first getting into it, almost all the games you're facing bots, which like I guess it's made to help newer players get used to the game. But for me, who's used to playing the PC version, I want real players. I want to have a challenge. Getting first place every game. I mean, it's nice, but it's not challenging or really fun, I guess. So I would like it if there was like an option where you can check, yes, I've played on PC, connect me with real players, or
Well, you'll break out of that eventually anyway.
You will eventually, but I don't want to play 20 games in order to get there. Like,
that's fun to trash out bots, though.
It can be, but for me, it's like Apex Mobile. I still prefer the PC version just because I'm a PC gamer. The mobile version is something I want to play every now and then. If I'm craving Apex and I'm like not home. So like if it takes 20 games to get there, those 20 games aren't going to happen for months because I'm only playing like once every other week or something like that. So I wish you could indicate like a skill level when you get into the game so that you can like.
Can I tell people that I was on this Spotlight 804 for being not for my Magic business that's incredibly successful, but because they wanted to interview me because I'm in the top 2% of COD Mobile.
Gosh.
Dude, I'm gonna tell my girlfriend that because I'll be like, you're always on me about playing this game. Well, you know what I did today? I was on this, dude, because I treat it like a job. Like when I'm not working, I'm on like it because it is, man. Now it's like to be I have to maintain that. That's difficult.
Well. Let's move on past the gaming.
Yeah, I didn't expect to talk about that. That was awesome.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's something that's important to both of us, so I think it's good to share that. But you did mention ADHD. Is it ADHD or ADD?
Well, so now they're the same thing. Attention deficit hyperactive disorder. They're the same thing now. They've merged. Okay. Not everybody who has ADHD has hyperactive, or what we consider hyperactive tendencies like fidgeting, whatever. And actually, I've never been formally diagnosed, which is part of the reason I'm going to therapy. Okay. I 122% have it. Unless I have some other neurodivergent thing, but I have every symptom. Like I think you have to have like 9 out of the potential. I have like 13 of them. You know what I mean?
Well, how has that affected you and your business?
So up until very recently, it like supercharged my business. I was always able to I've outlapped like all my competitors within like a couple of years because I was like I have hyper focus. So when I get zeroed into something, there's a symptom of ADHD there's one called hyper focus, which is what it sounds, and the other is like all or nothing. So it's like you won't do something unless you can do it all the way or just not at all. Which is also part of the reason why when I game like on Call of Duty Mobile, I have to like be the best in the world. It's like I'm either going to do something to like take it all the way or I'm just not going to do it at all. And I thought that was a personality trait, and it's just kind of like both empowering and defeatist to like feel like that's just a symptom of something that I have that can be medicated. And so I had these things that pushed me so hard in a direction to like give it my all, to constantly grind on, to focus on it. And I had this hyper focus on this one thing for like 4 years. So it just like exploded the business. But now I'm at a point where it's like I am spinning my wheels in the mud. It's like I'm now turning so fast in a place that can't move like as quickly anymore, because it's like this whole big monolithic rock being pushed through the earth, and it's like it just can't move as fast anymore. You know what I mean? So I'm like spinning my wheels, and it's starting to get to a point where it's actually counterproductive now. That hyper focus, that because I'm supposed to be resting and taking care of these events that I have. But at the same time, I'm like trying to do this all or nothing thing, and I'm already at the all. So like, how do I all or nothing when I've already had it? You know what I mean? Now there's things I could do, like get on James Corden and these other TV shows, but I know that that's only going to happen when I get better, when I break through a new wall, when I deliver a new message, when I have a new show like Affinity, when that becomes successful, I can use that to propel these platforms. Like we met a booker for James Corden, and we had the whole thing set up to do that, but now we're moving venues. So, yeah, to get to the next step is just a lot more difficult. And I definitely think that hyper focus is working against me. I want to just like let things happen naturally and live my life and enjoy my 20s. I just can't. And also it makes it hard to do things like handling finances is something I'm really bad at, and planning ahead. I travel a lot, so I'm like the king of last minute hotel stays. Like I'm a Hilton Diamond member. I got that in 1 month from just like last minute bookings and stuff.
Right.
But my manager, thank God for him, he's like a planner. He can a month out, he knows where we're staying, hotels, things like that. So that's really helpful for me. But I feel like I have to pay a lot more money for people to do things for me than me to just do them myself, because of that all or nothing. Like
right.
I want somebody to do it fully and completely and handle it, or I'm not even gonna touch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's definitely some pros and cons, and I'm actually just learning about all this now, to like how to handle it and deal with it. I'm sure a lot of people who run a business, maybe like it, honestly, if somebody watches this and can just hear like what I'm explaining and relates to it, this would be such a godsend for them, because it is so liberating when you find out that like, oh, you mean like my like ability to not think about anything else, or like listen to people when they talk because I'm so in my own head, or like constantly moving really fast and never feeling like I can take a break without feeling guilty. That's all ADHD. Like, oh yeah, it's all just like a symptom, and it can be treated, which is really cool. Yeah.
I mean, I definitely, I have, as you were talking, like recognized some of those things in me as well. I mean, I don't know if I have it. I don't think so. I wouldn't even go into it myself, but like the all or nothing thing I definitely relate to.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't want to sit down and edit 5 photos from the shoot. I want to spend the next 8 hours editing the entire thing.
Yeah.
And so then it just doesn't get touched for weeks. And, you know, that hurts me a little bit, because I'm not getting my stuff to clients done as fast because of that all or nothing mentality.
Yeah.
So that's the first time I've heard of that. And that definitely struck a chord with me. Like,
yeah, man.
Either it's part of that or not. That's really like a frustrating thing to deal with.
And there's a bunch of things, like neurodivergence is like just anybody who's like their brain works differently. And there's a lot of things. I mean, like you know, it doesn't have to necessarily be ADHD. It can be anything else. And not everybody who has ADHD is hyperactive. Like it's just an attention thing, a focus thing. And there's all these claims as to like how it's formed and whatever. It's not always genetic, although mine definitely is, because my mom has it and everything. But yeah, I mean, looking into that stuff and like learning, like I'm on TikTok, and all my TikTok pages is like how to navigate with ADHD and stuff, and like all that different, you know, which is funny because I always thought I wasn't only the one getting those. I just think TikTok's just forming these people. And also they cater to those people too, right? Like you're more likely to love TikTok if you have ADHD. That's a true fact. Like they've done some research. People who have attention deficit disorders prefer TikTok over other platforms. Not to say other people don't either, but you get what I mean. Like
it's very fast paced.
Very catered to us, you know? So.
Lots of people want to create courses for what they do. I myself would like to create like a photography webinar or something. Lots of people want to do this but haven't, but you actually have created a course. And from what I've heard, you never want to do it again.
Hold on. Okay, yeah, go ahead, continue.
Well, you know, why is that? What was your process dealing with that?
I don't know that never wanted to do it. Like maybe, and I know for sure that I've said that.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, like I've definitely said that. But, you know, it was right when COVID happened, and I have that, you know, I have the thing where I can't turn it off. And again, all or nothing, right? So I was still in a place where everybody was like lost and scared and afraid. I was still working on my business relentlessly, making these posts of things I was working on. I did like I was doing all the Instagram lives for all these celebrities like LL Cool J, YK Osiris, Big Ed from 90 Day Fiancé, and just like hundreds of celebrities on my Instagram. So I was getting all this attention for this idea of virtual magic. I'm not going to claim I was the first person to do it, because there are people who were doing it even before the pandemic. But I definitely was one of the people who I feel like started to realize this could be a real career path. So I started pushing this virtual magic. And then when I was pushing virtual, I noticed there were still people who were open to doing events. They were just kind of like hush hush about it because it wasn't like culturally acceptable, I guess. So I still had these clients and was posting about it. People started asking me questions of like how I'm maintaining clients, how I'm booking shows, what am I doing, what am I saying to people, because they don't even think people are comfortable doing anything right now. So I started to give advice on this Facebook page. I started doing these lives. And then the Facebook group, I started to get so much attention. The Facebook group actually didn't like me. I don't know why. They just like, people were hurting and scared and afraid of what the pandemic was doing to their business, and they saw me thriving and just saw me as a beacon to attack. So I was getting attacked left and right. I had all these haters forming, but I also had these people who were like rallying to my support, saying that they loved it. And I kind of just threw it in the Facebook group's faces. Like, if you don't want me giving this stuff away for free, fine. Now people have to pay for it. Take it up with the moderators. Like, they've pretty much screwed you guys.
Got them.
So I started to do these calls for free where I had people sign up on a Calendly link and I would do a call with them and I'd help them with their business. I had over 100 magicians scheduled calls. That's crazy, dude. Like, that's nuts. And I took all the information, what I was hearing from what common problems were, and I started to record these videos. I was getting really in depth. And I thought, you know, the guy who I took the course, Showbiz Blueprint, wasn't really running it that year, and somebody needed something that was pandemic specific and had to focus on social media, which is how I was getting a lot of this work, to guide them through and be a beacon of light in this really dark time. And no one was doing it. So I stepped up to the plate. I put in just the hardest amount of work ever. Like, these people relied on me. They needed this. I'm only 24, so it's not like I've had a lifetime of experience in the business, and I'm telling people how to do it. And I'm putting everything I know into this, and just taking everything you've learned in a business that you've been super focused on for, like, you know, between, you know, 4 to 8 years. I only have, because like there were a couple years where it wasn't like full time, you know. Like, dumping all that into one course in one place was so much. It felt like I was like giving part of myself away, and it was just super painful, really hard. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Just, I gave everything to these people, you know. And I'm not as interested in doing it if people don't really need it, because now it feels like I'm doing it for money. I did it then. Yes, I needed some money to get through the pandemic and everything, but I really didn't do that because of it. I did it to help people who were otherwise going to be in a bad situation. Right. And I also saw like a networking opportunity to get with magicians who are interested in, people who are interested in investing in their business with a course like that are more likely to be successful anyway. Yeah. You know.
So you would potentially do it again if the reasons were right.
I think so, and I think if I just need to have like some motivation and passion towards it again.
So we talked about a lot of your horror stories and things gone wrong. Let's flip that and talk about what has been your proudest moment so far.
Man, you know, the wedding that you shot, I think was really cool, because these were people who saw me perform like a magic show in their backyard before my career took off. And they like hadn't ever seen me perform until like this point, but they've watched the online growth over the last few years, just getting like, you know, insanely big, like becoming one of like the biggest name. Like, I won't say I'm one of the biggest names in magic, but at least on the East Coast, like I'm definitely one of the busiest performing guys, performing for the most companies. So like I watched that growth, and then I got to perform for them again for my family at this wedding. And I even had that line where I said like, every single day I perform as Chris Michael. And for the very first time in my career, I get to stand before you guys today and perform as Chris Corelli. And that means a lot to me. So I get to do that, and just like watching every joke hit, watching people like who they knew that I was good, but like they've never seen, like watching my little brothers be like, dang. And people coming up to me and saying like, we get it now. Like, okay, now we get why you drive a Tesla, and like, you know, all this, like why you're always like gone. Because this is like, it just clicked for them that this is not like a normal magic show. This dude is like a force of nature that's doing something different, you know. And people,
that should be your tagline to the Chris Michael show: a force of nature.
Force of nature. Well, people have said that before, about me. Some quotes and stuff. That's what my manager says too. It's like a Red Bull coffee fueled experience. And it just, I care so much about making people have fun. Like, I do not let people come to my show and not have like the best time of their life. I get angry when they don't, and I'll call them out, you know, like I make people have fun there. And they just got to see that for the first time. It was really, really cool.
That does sound cool. And where does Affinity fall into that?
Oh dude, so proud of that. We're in an in-between phase. I get to finally work, because the corporate show's good, but my goal is to make everybody there have fun. I'm stepping into them. I have to make them like me. I have to make them comfortable. I want to have a space where it's okay to be uncomfortable and it's okay for you to think. But if you just show up to someone's work party and just start talking to them about destiny and throwing rocks at a tree in a river and like all this hippy dippy kind of highfalutin art stuff, it's going to turn them off. So I wanted to build a space where I can talk about what I've learned in life, and a lot of it's based around what I struggled with ADHD before I knew that that's what it was. I talk about how I really cared about what people said, and I really listened and really thought about it, but I wouldn't always respond in ways that made them think that. I would read people's messages and acknowledge them, but I wouldn't always reply, so they feel like I'm not acknowledging, even though like I'm really focused on what they said. All these things that I was doing with my life, and realizing that I'm constantly obsessed with controlling what I'm doing. Like, I'm always buffing out the edges of my life, and like, okay, I don't do this well, I need to fix this, and I just have so much control, and I hold the reins so tight. And when I worked on the show, I was working with this producer that was teaching me in real life that the less that you control your life and just let yourself naturally be, the more successful you're going to end up being where you're meant to be, regardless of how much you control yourself. Like, if you have a calling and you're passionate about something and you're focused on something, life's going to take you where you're meant to be. Like, why do you not trust the universe? Why do you not trust God? Or why do you not trust whatever higher being? Like, you need to just trust that and just let go and live. And that was what the show was about, was like, stop being worried about being where you need to be. Stop being worried about working hard enough. Stop being worried about what holds you back in life, whether that's ADHD or whatever else. And just focus on living this experience while you're here, taking it in for everything that it is. And then if you're doing exactly what you're like, if whatever you're doing in that moment, you're meant to be doing. That's what I'm trying to say. So I got to have a show where I talk to people about that and give them like a piece of myself. And just getting that in writing in a show where we can demonstrate that and still make people freak out and have fun was like a huge success. And there's no other show like this in the entire world. We were mimicking kind of like in and of itself a little bit when we first started. It became something totally different. So we're opening that up at the Hippodrome Theater in Richmond starting in October. Right now the current web address is affinityrva.com, affinitydc.com if it's not showing up, Sure. But yeah, no, it's dude. I don't want to say too much because you have to see it, and we try to protect the experience as much as we can so people don't know what they're walking into.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think it's really rewarding to have like a passion project like that.
Yeah. And
have that become something that's also successful.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of the same thing with this interview series, Spotlight 804. I'm not getting paid for this. Mm-hmm. This is just a passion project of mine.
Yeah.
And maybe it could go somewhere someday, and that'd be really cool. But I think just having something like that where it's, you have that creative control and make it your own is almost necessary for any artist to keep going.
And it's so evident that the things that you do because you want to do are ultimately the thing that makes you successful. That's why with getting on TV shows and like taking this next step in my career, it doesn't happen from just being in corporate events and making people have fun. It comes from me doing something that hasn't been done in the world yet, where like I'm putting my stamp on the earth and people see that and want to like boost it.
Right.
So that's why Affinity, like I know that I'm kind of at the limit of where I can be with corporate events right now. I genuinely am. I need to be doing something that people feel connects with who they are, that they feel seen and like, this is for me. Mm-hmm. And that way I'll get that support and that fan base that promotes what I do, that wants to make me successful.
What is Magic and Jazz?
Okay, dude, Magic and Jazz. So shout out to Charlie Ross. He's now a comedian in Washington, D.C. He was a guy who put me... This is when my career started. This was the pinnacle moment. I was performing for this show at VCU at Richard Newdick Theater, also known as Schaefer Street Playhouse. We had a jazz band in the pit, and we had a magic show on the stage, and it was this theater play about a boy who is doing a talent show for magic, and he ends up doing tricks about his love life. So he does all these tricks about being in love, and him and his girlfriend break up. So he does like this magic trick where they cut the rope and they separate. He ends up winning her back over with magic. But I got to be the host of the talent show in the thing. That was my part. Mm. And I was a talent show host that was also going to be performing magic. So I did a little bit of magic, to open up the talent show portion of that play. Mm-hmm. And Zach was in the audience. I guess he just saw Magic and Jazz and just thought he would go to that, even though maybe he's currently visiting some friends or whatever that were at VCU. And he saw me backstage and he's like, "Wow, you're great on the stage. You got a great personality." And Zach, who I'd heard about for years, was the old president of the Magic Club at VCU, but he had moved to Blacksburg, so I had never gotten to meet him. I just heard his name constantly. Mm-hmm. Well, when I shook his hand, I was like, "And who are you?" He goes, "I'm Zachary Gartrell." And I was like, "What? You're the guy who used to run the Magic Club here?" He's like, "Oh, sure am." And so we left there. He kept telling me about how I can make money doing magic and how like it's a viable option, and there were these websites I can get on that would list my services, like Thumbtack and Bark and all that. And I was listening to him, and that night he went to my apartment and helped me set up accounts. And the very next day I was booking shows. And so like I remember my first ever time making like I think I made like $400 in a month. I was like, Zach, dude, I was like, I made $400 off the stuff you showed me. And that was like a big deal for us back then.
Yeah.
And then we had these goals, like how many shows we book per month. He's like, all right, your goal is to book 4 shows next month. I was like, all right, I'll book 6. You know?
Right. So I guess meeting Zach at that show was what you take away from that. He sort of enlightened you, I guess, to the career aspect.
Well, he gave me the confidence. He approached me and told me how good I was. He was like, man, you've got such a great presence on stage. You're so like energetic and likable up there. And I was like, oh, thanks. He was like, hey, how often do you perform? I was like, what? I was like, that was my first time on stage ever. He goes, no. And he couldn't believe it. And like that gave, so he actually performed at a real talent show that night. I got to come and watch him perform. Then we played some Smash Bros.
We've reached the point in our show where we are nearing the end, but first we have a segment called Context Clues.
Okay.
Which
you ever seen those I Spy magazines when you were a kid?
I did, yeah.
Those are awesome.
So this is basically we went back in time and found an image from your past, and we don't know what's going on, and we'd love for you to give us some context on that.
Okay.
So here's the picture.
Oh. Yes.
So what exactly is happening here? You have a cup taped to your head.
Yes. So this is when I was a SoundCloud rapper, and I had the double cup of lean and a pack of cigarettes in my arm. No, that is what it looks like though. This is from a time when I visited back in my hometown, New York. This is in my grandmother's backyard. My aunt was we just celebrated her birthday this past weekend.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, this is a 50s themed birthday party, and why I thought a shark tooth necklace was a 50s themed thing, I have no idea. But white t-shirt, jeans. I put cards in my sleeve like a pack of cigarettes, like they do. And the headband, not sure how I acquired that. It must have been just for attention, I guess. Okay. And then how the cup got in there also escapes me. I imagine I just was gonna do. You know what it probably was, and I think this is what it was. I was doing like card tricks, and I think I just like had to like put my cup somewhere, so I'd like pop it in there and like take it out and like do card tricks.
Right. I thought it had something to do with like the water that solidifies in the cup.
Well, you just gave away the secret, man.
I don't know how that happens.
Right.
Okay. Well, there you have it. That's the context for this image.
Yeah, no, that's just a legitimate. That's actually my drink, and I think I was like taking people's trash for them at a point, like just putting it up there.
If there was one piece of life advice or wisdom you could share with the people of the world, what would that be?
Not advice that I currently take, but advice that I'm happy to give, which is don't be so worried about... don't control yourself too much. Don't give yourself too much discredit when you're not doing what you think you're supposed to be doing. If you're just having to lay in bed all day, that's okay. If it becomes a problem, you address it then. But if you're... New pilots make this mistake. They oversteer the plane, and so the plane never flies straight. They have to trust that the natural aerodynamics of the plane are going to let it run its course. And that's the same thing for everybody else. Don't oversteer your life. Let the natural... You are a person with a genetic code that's wiring you to be a certain way. Let it be that way, and don't fight it. Let that aerodynamics carry you.
That's deep, man.
Yeah.
All right, well, this camera over here, you got 60 seconds. Let the world know what's going on.
Yeah, so main thing is AffinityDC.com or AffinityRVA.com. One site's going to lead you to the other, so you can go to either one. You can get tickets starting in October to come to a Sunday brunch show at the Hippodrome Theater. You're going to step in there. It's going to be a dark, mysterious, smoky room with amazing cocktails, some chicken and waffles, or some other great brunch foods. One of the best in Virginia. Come check it out. I don't know what the ticket price is going to be, but it's on the website. And then also, if you have a company and you want something that's going to wake people up and make them pay attention to your company's message, you can go to chrismikemagic.com and check out our packages. Get in touch with my manager for having us come out to your event. It is something you'll never forget. People talk about it for years after we show up. It's well worth everything. So if we can work for your company, we'll do it. We'll put a lot of effort into it, make you guys rock.
All right, thank you, Chris. Appreciate you being on the show. And that, my friends, is the first episode of Spotlight 804. Well, technically the second, but with the new format. And really thankful to have Chris here on the show and dive into his life and the life of a magician. So thank you for watching. There'll be some stuff over here with links and things like that to check out. So until the next video, guys, thanks so much. Have a good day.
Okay, now I can promote the real thing, which is Chris Mike Magic on COD Mobile, Call of Duty Mobile.
Oh my
Chris
gosh.
Mike, capital M for Magic. So C, Chris, capital C, Mike, capital M, Magic, all one word. Add me and get your stuff wrecked. See ya.